Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's episode of The Lobby, the pre-HGC show run twice weekly to wrap up previous results and preview the night's games. Tonight with me, as you can see on my right, I have the wonderful Shiv Neal. Shiv is actually the owner of Emproxgg. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that right. Welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries at all, dude. It's my pleasure to be on here.
Now, this is a bit of a story, and this is why I've got Shiv on the show tonight. Emproxgg have actually signed Nekomimi. So Nekomimi, as we all know, have had a bit of a roster change. Tool Dealer coming in, replacing StumpGod, and Shiv's company or organization, Emproxgg, have taken them over. So, firstly, tell me a bit about yourself and a bit about Emproxgg.
So I've actually been in the esports scene for quite a couple of years now. I've kind of been actually behind the scenes more so. I originally started off in a coaching role back in, I think, 2015 or 2016. I think I was with Abyss Esports at that time. So we built Abyss from the ground up. Technically, well, I was part of it. At the least, I had a hand in there. I've also had a hand in facilitating Outlaws as well. So it could kind of give a little bit of hint towards like a little bit of a rivalry up and coming. Just saying.
I'm interested to see how that plays out. Interesting coming into game one then.
Indeed, it is really interesting, isn't it?
We'll touch on that one in a second. There are going to be 2 streamed games tonight, 3 played in total. Only, sorry, I think there are 4 games tonight. It's 3 streamed, 3 played on Thursday night. We're just going to be talking about the games tonight, though. The first game for the night, as we just alluded to, was Emproxgg versus Outlaws. So what are your thoughts on how your team are going to go into facing off against Outlaws with potentially some insider information you may or may not have?
So that's an interesting question on its own. I know for a fact, what do you call it? We had changed. Tool Dealer is a newcomer to the lineup. He has brought in some new aspects that we hadn't really, or the team hadn't really seen before from the previous lineups that they have had. So we're hoping that Tool Dealer will spice things up a little. As for the foreshadowing of the match, I think it will be much more interesting than people are going to expect it to be. That's for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to how they play. We know that Outlaws over the last couple of weeks have been a little bit, performing a little bit under par for what we expected from them. And Nekomimi, as they were also underperforming as to what we did expect from them, although a lot of the casters probably did expect it from them, to say the least, with their minor roster issues. I did have a question from one of our casters that we wanted to bring up. We talked a little bit about it beforehand, but coming into the scene, we love having new orgs, and now with Emproxgg on board, we only have 2 Premier Division teams that are not sponsored. What was your thinking and reasoning on taking on that Nekomimi roster with potentially the volatility they had and how they were underperforming?
So we kind of, to a point, we considered ourselves a little bit of a saving grace. We enjoy kind of helping a team facilitate themselves and like grow into something bigger. In this case, we saw Nekomimi sort of struggling, and we were like, we'll swoop in and see what the go is. And Hearts to us was a new scene that we were trying to get into. And we were like, okay, we had a little chat with them. Obviously, a lot of the things that happened in terms of picking them up, it happened over the course of a couple of days. But all in all, I think the roster on its own, we were going for a new angle with it. We were trying to explore like an underdog story in this regard. We've seen winners, we've been winners, but this time around we wanted to build a story, and so we wanted to see what we could do with the Nekomimi roster.
Well, I'm really excited to see how they do perform now with the backing from Emproxgg, as well as the new roster changes and team captain shift from StumpGod to Chriso. As you'd said, it only happened really over the course of a couple of days. We actually found out last night and got permission to announce it with one of the players from Emproxgg on stream on Untapped last night. Did you get to see any of that or know much about what happened there?
I was actually watching a little bit of it. I think I got notified later on that like it was blowing up on Twitter a little bit. So I was like, huh, okay, I didn't expect that. But all in all, I reckon it's pretty fascinating. I think the hot scene does have a lot of potential, and that's one of the reasons why we're here, and possibly to help facilitate it a little bit more. Because I feel like Blizzard on its own does run a lot of things really well, and we sort of, to a point, may also have some insider knowledge into what Blizzard has plans for the ANZ scene. Let's put it that
Ooh,
way.
I'd love to have a bit of a chat about that with you later, but off stream, of course. Um, talking talking about the current game, the first one before we go into cast predictions for the week and the current standings of the week. I still want to talk a bit more about this Emproxgg vs Outlaws game. You know about your roster. Do you know much about the Outlaws roster as it stands?
I believe, from what I hear, they're probably amongst the top three, top four lineups that we have in the hot scene currently. And I believe they are an older roster as well. That's what I got from most of my research anyway.
Yeah, they have performed pretty well over the past year and a bit. Back when they were NMD before they were taken on by Outlaws. Lahal is one of the strongest captains that I know, one of the strongest players I know. Aside from obviously the roster from Nomia. We won't talk about Nomia tonight. We're here to talk about Emproxgg and the Outlaws game, and obviously the games for tonight. But in regards to Outlaws themselves, I think that potentially for this game, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform with the new roster. But how much better do you think that they will perform when Outlaws are probably? Oh, I'm losing my words here, and I apologise. I'm gonna try to clear that up for you a little bit.
Yeah, no.
Outlaws have been underperforming. They've got something to prove. They
Yeah.
see Emproxgg as a weaker team and probably easy beats. That's probably the easiest way I can explain it.
Yeah.
Do you think that Emproxgg will actually stand a chance against Outlaws with that mindset?
It's a little hard to say. I know for a fact the difference in terms of the roster and the power levels. Obviously, we're facing off against the top four team here, and we're at the lower end of the bracket. I would say our likelihood of winning has suddenly gone up with their recent, I should say, non-performance in the recent weeks. But again, at the same time, they are a strong roster. If they're able to keep their composure, they'll probably take it out with no ease. But then again, we're also like a, what do you call it? A wild card factor with the recent roster change. Also, again, stressing tool dealer here. I reckon it's gonna be something that they're gonna not be prepared for, and I believe we may kind of hurt their momentum a little bit. But all in all, I think this might be Outlaws' game. Just yeah.
I think the Outlaws are going to take it as well. I did tip that last night on Untapped. I'd love to see at least Emproxgg. It's going to take a while for me to get the hang of that. Take a game. We were talking also last night on Untapped, myself and Disco, about the logo change. You've seen the previous Nekomimi logo, being
I
the
believe
little anime girl with the cat ears?
No, not quite. I looked at it briefly. I didn't really pay much attention to the logo at that time. But now that you mention it, I may just go
Have
check
a
out
quick
their
Google.
old logo.
Yeah, so they had a little it was one that Stumpy drew herself. She's a fantastic artist, but there's a little girl with cat ears. And we were talking about how it's gone from like this little cat girl anime character to this big beastly lynx of a feral cat sort of thing, and how it potentially shows not Neko's but Emprox's growth into that mature fighting force, right?
Yeah, it's a transformation overall. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon it's pretty cool in my opinion. If that was the case, like I didn't know that.
No, it would be cool. Have a look at it after the show. But we're going to quickly have a look at the current standings. I've chucked up the TV on the little corner of the screen here, so you should be able to see that over here. The little TV's got the standings on it. We can currently see Crimson and Downfall up there on Crimson, Downfall, and Nomia up there on number 1, 2, 3, respectively. Downfall being probably the biggest talking point so far of the season, taking the set against Crimson last week. And yes, the points did fall in their favour in their games against Rich Gang with the minor forfeit. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to see where Downfall does progress for the remainder of this season. And if they do, as Flay said last night, keep pushing that envelope until they are forced to be reckoned with. Another underdog story, if you might say.
Yeah,
so I'd be really intrigued to see where that plays out. The next one, I will pull this up on the bigger screen so you guys can all see it properly. Crimson Gaming have played 4 games. They've won 3 of them, dropped 1. They're only number 1 at the moment because they have played 4 games. Nomia and Downfall are 3-zip. Outlaws are 2, and they've lost 2. Aztec Entertainment, Rich Gang, QM Warriors are all only on 1 win, and unfortunately Nekomimi, which we will have changed to Emproxgg in tournament as soon as possible, on 0 wins so far. I'm really looking forward to see how Emproxgg progresses and how they go further on into the season. The next thing we want to have a quick look at is our lobby power rankings. We do this every week, every episode. We pull up our lobby power rankings. These are from the casters themselves, and we'll pull that up on the big screen too. So now that that's over here, you've got power rankings from the casters, placing Nomia 1st, Crimson 2nd, Downfall 3rd, Outlaws 4th, Aztec 5th, Rich Gang on 6th, QM Warrior 7th, and Emproxgg 8th. Have a quick look through those rankings stream. Guys in stream chat, please holler out if you have any questions or think there's anything out of the ordinary with some of those votes. I'm just checking to see where Kit Fox has put Outlaws this week. He's put them at 5, not 6, so they have moved up a step. That's a plus. Last week he had them at 6, and the week before as well. I don't really see. I know you probably don't know much about the current scene, Emproxgg, and how they have been progressing and where they should be. But does any of this look out of the ordinary for you, or from what research you've done, does this look all pretty standard?
I believe it's pretty reflective of the recent performances of most of the teams. It doesn't look out of whack or anything like out of place from my point of view, at the very least. I think it's very representative of what's been happening so far in the weeks that have gone through, and it's a potential projection of what's coming up, to be honest.
Aside from Emproxgg, of course.
Who
they're going to finish? Where do you actually think they're going to finish this season? Honestly.
Well, okay. Well, I don't want to downvote the guys or anything like that. I will say there's a prospect of them climbing all the way up to maybe the 5th, if certain things were to be fixed, certain aspects were stabilized and so forth. But realistically, I think they would be either taking the 8th or the 7th spot this season.
Well, based on their current performance, I'd probably agree with you there. I do also think that with what you're doing and with what Chris will be doing and with Tool Dealer coming on as well, that they can potentially push the envelope a bit more and potentially take out that 5th spot. I'd like to see them get that far. I don't know that they will, but it is a possibility. Anything can happen. It's hot.
Indeed.
Am I right? The next game for the night is going to be QM Warriors versus Crimson Gaming. This is going to be a very interesting game. Crimson losing to Downfall last week. The discussion points that we had were simply, is this going to be another underdog story? Where is Crimson's mindset at for this game? I did try to get a Crimson manager on the show tonight. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen. But all for the better because we've got you instead, Shiv.
Thank you.
But basically, the reason why we couldn't get some from Crimson is because their mindset wasn't, they weren't ready,
Oh,
I don't think. I think they needed full time to just focus on tonight's games.
right.
After being toppled by a Downfall, a team that a lot of our casters and a lot of our scene have probably rated as bottom 5 or bottom
Mhm.
4, beating them in like
Yeah,
straight sets, that's got to
that's
do some
pretty
damage.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to do some
Um,
damage.
it also depends on whether or not a team is what do you call it, mentally, what do you call it, capable of dealing with losses, right? A lot of teams, if they have momentum, and usually once they get momentum, they once they lose, they tend to like drop off that momentum. And I feel like if yeah, Crimson is a team that's kind of like they have that mental fortitude going for them, that last week's loss would have meant nothing to them. And I think what they're trying to do is take away all distractions, not look at what others are saying right now, just kind of focus on the game.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. It'll be great to see where Crimson's mindset is,
Mhm.
especially because we'll talk about this on the next episode of the lobby, but their games on Thursday night are going to be pretty impactful as well.
Mhm.
Um, I I'm not too sure which way this one's going to swing. If Crimson show up, I think it's going to be a definite 2-0
Yeah.
in favor of Crimson. I don't see Quick Match Warriors being able to threaten them in that sense.
Yeah.
But if they don't show up, if they come with that doubt in their mind, I think it is possible they will drop at least one game, potentially the set if their mind's not in it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sort of similar. It's all going to be about getting momentum. I think for Crimson, if they take out the very first game off the night, they will probably take out the rest of the set. If they don't take out the first match, it's going to be up to them to like pull themselves back. All in all,
Well, as an organization owner yourself, how would you train your team in the matter of like, let's look at Emprox right now. If they were in the same sort of a situation where they were
Mhm.
expected to win a game, they got demolished in it, and the next game they're up against another easier opponent. Or, sorry, not easier, lower ranked opponent.
Yeah.
How would you, what would you tell them to kind of amp them up and get them in that mindset again?
It's a little difficult because usually there is a different relationship a owner has with the players versus the coach has with the players. If I'm speaking from the owner side of view, I'd probably go with like not as much pressure weighing on their shoulders. But like, okay, do what you can do. I don't expect like do what you can do and don't worry about the results. Like this is just a learning curve for you, right?
Hmm.
This is only just a match throughout the entire split. If it doesn't go your way, it doesn't, learn from it and go forward. As a coach, I think the coach will probably amp them up a little bit more. And I think that will probably give them factors to kind of like focus the players overall. From my coaching experience overall, I believe there were like certain exercises used to do to get your players to focus, a little bit of meditation from time to time, and obviously just kind of like ensuring that they're thinking about the right things. Because obviously, if the player's thinking we could lose this, we could not perform well here, they're probably not in the right mental state to play that game overall.
Hmm. Well, so this is kind of that alluded to a question for me.
Mhm.
With what you're doing with Mprox now, will they have their own dedicated coach?
We're trying to work towards it. Like the hot scene is very new to us, so I'm kind of relying on the players to kind of like go around and see what they require. At the current point in time, we probably are looking for a coach, and we'll see how things go from there. We're not too sure like what the availability of coaches within the hot scene are. Are we looking domestically? Are we looking internationally? And things like that. So it's very new, but we are exploring the possibility of a coach.
Okay. Um, Question for you: Have you heard of a team called Pleb to Pro?
Yes, I believe that's the what do you call it? That was the roster that was the old or part of the old Dark-Sided personnel with Moops. Is it correct?
Yes, that is
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you know much about them? Have you done a little bit of research into what they're doing at the moment?
Yes, I think I had a little bit of an overview. We did actually talk to Moops' roster prior to the qualifiers, I think, for the last remaining spots in the Premier Division. So this was a while ago.
Mm.
And yeah, after they didn't qualify, it was kind of like the end of that to a point. But yeah, we have been in discussions before. I do know some of the players there are pretty exceptional.
I was just going to suggest Moops and Pleb to Pro have actually started organising coaching for other teams. Is there a potential that you might utilise the experience that Moops and those guys have to coach?
Yeah, certainly. Like there is the option if we believe that the like their coaching would be more than helpful to the team, and if the team believes it, I'll be more than happy to look into it.
I suppose my only concern would be, at the moment, if you haven't seen the current Open Division, they are playing in Open Division at the moment.
Yeah.
They're playing flawlessly. They, as expected, haven't dropped a game at all this season so far. It is expected they're probably going to continue that way unless some of these teams that they're actually coaching step up and take their mantle. Do you think that it would potentially cause any conflict of interest moving into phase 2, knowing that maybe if they were to step, because they'll be finishing number 1 in Open Division. That's pretty much a guaranteed unless something drastic happens.
Yeah.
And Nekomimi, sorry, Emproxgg now, that is still going to take a while to get my head around, may potentially be finishing bottom 2. With what happens at the end of phase 1, the little old switcheroo with the top 2 and the bottom 2 like they do a little bit of face off, but one team will be definitely dropping, or two teams may be definitely dropping down, and the other 2 teams may be definitely moving up. There's not potentially going to be any conflict of interest, knowing that Moops' team may come up and knock Emproxgg out of that.
So I can't really tell you too much in terms of what I'm planning for all of that, but
of course, you don't need to answer everything.
Certainly. But like I tend to try and have a solution for every problem, or at least work towards it. And I think with this case, I may have a solution as well.
Well, I'm intrigued to see what that will be. Apologies if that caught you off guard at all. We're going to quickly open up to stream chat just in case you guys have any questions. Do you guys have any questions for Shiv before we wrap up the show and head over to Blizzard ANZ for the HGC games tonight? We did have one comment, aside from the fact that my button is undone and I don't have enough chest hair to make it work. Kit Fox just wanted me to comment that last week his predictions actually had Outlaws at 5th as well, not at 6th. There was a bit of there was about 5 edits of the power rankings from last week, and some did get missed. So apologies, Kid Fox. Yes, you had them at number 5. Number 5, number 6. It's still probably, in my opinion, lower than they deserve. I think that they should be a 3rd or 4th predicted team, but that's just my own thoughts.
Yeah, that's fair.
We don't seem to have any questions. Did you have any questions for me about HOTS or about the scene or anything that I can answer for you?
I think most of all, I just keep nagging the players to tell me, so I'm pretty sure most of the stuff I'll probably learn from the players in like no time. All in all, I think there was a question I didn't quite answer for you earlier on, and I think that was directed towards who was Emproxgg, I believe.
Yes.
So in technicality, so Emproxgg is an organization, and we are involved in the oceanic scene. It's run by me. Currently, I'm the sole owner of Emproxgg. We are involved in 2 other scenes, currently PUBG and I think League of Legends as well, which is the Oceanic Challenger Series. Now, that scene over there is a lot larger than what HOTS is currently, but at the same time, we're kind of like trying to test out what the other scenes have to offer, and that's part of the reason why we're here in HOTS. And as for the last aspect, I'm planning something big for HOTS. I can't tell you guys what it is.
Of course.
But we're not here just to kind of fit in. We're here to shake things up. Let's put it that way.
I'm really excited to see what the future holds, and thank you so much again for joining us on the show. Really appreciate you taking your time to come and face the fans and answer a few questions that we may have had. Any questions I have might sounds too stupid. That's fine. The stream chat didn't have any questions for you. That's fantastic. Means that you don't get caught off guard and have to answer some awkward questions.
Totally.
But thank you again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. I'm really keen to see. I love seeing orgs joining Heroes of the Storm. I love seeing orgs with the mentality that you have, wanting to grow the scene, grow the players, and shake things up a bit. Let's be honest, HOTS needs it. We need a bit of a shake-up. We need it. I would love to have you back later on in the season, just to kind of see where Emprox is sitting. If you don't want to, if it's like all backfiring, that's completely fine. You can tell me to get shoved. But
I reckon it'd be pretty fun. I'm happy talking with people because I want to get my views out there. So
of course,
I reckon I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to give a massive shout out to Gamester, www.gamester.com. Gamester are producing the HGC. You can catch their content on YouTube and Twitch. Give them a follow on Twitter. Give them a follow on Facebook. This is one of their channels, obviously. They are doing a lot of work with the HGC. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have it. Next shout out we have is for Blizzard ANZ. Blizzard ANZ is where we're going to be heading next. This is where all the HGC games are being streamed, obviously thanks to Gamester again. The Calm Before the Clash, a weekly series of videos in both English and Spanish, highlighting results and stories from both the ANZ and Copa America, leading up to the Intercontinental Clash at the end of the season, hosted by Vandy and Carolina. We'll get a link for that in chat for you, so you can go and check that out. Next episode is up now, so please go have a look. And also, thank you, last but not leastly, the viewers. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this at all. You are a big part of the scene. We entertain, right? We're here to entertain you. We're here to give you all the information we possibly can surrounding the scene. And that's pretty much it. We're going to wrap it up. Head over to Blizzard_ANZ. Stay in chat because we're going to head there in a raid to the Blizzard_ANZ Twitch. And we will see you in the Nexus.